Thank you, Bobby. Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to tell you what I consider to be the story of Sunflower. It was set up in 1995 in the inner city in Dublin. At that time, it was the largest black spot for unemployment in the whole of Europe, never mind the whole of Ireland. It was funded, the only way we could have it funded, through FOSS community employment, and that funding still remains today. Part of the people who work in Sunflower are on CE programmes for short spaces of time. We were also successful in the early days of, we drew down Integra funding and then Youth Start funding, and that would have kind of helped the fledgling company to stay on its feet for the first few years. Because you have to understand, at the time, to come along and say that you were going to set up a recycling business and somebody was going to pay you to do that in Ireland and people just thought we were mad, you know. And there was an awful lot of goodwill that came from the small businesses in and around us in the city. The first 300 businesses that took up, I'm fully convinced they really only did it because they kind of said, oh, God help them. I mean, they didn't really have to do it then. There was nobody telling you had to recycle. There was nobody telling you about your coloured bags. That didn't exist at the time. So it really was innovative at that time. Today, the situation has completely changed. We now have the big boys, the big waste management companies coming into the city to take those small little businesses recycling. So the situation has totally changed. But for us, the learning curve in those first couple of years was enormous. It wasn't just a learning curve for the participants involved in Sunflower, it was also for the board of management, the group of people who came together, including myself, to run this company. And when you think about it, like, we were 3 months old when we drew down the first lot of European funding. And when I think about it now, I nearly have apoplexy. We're all mad or what? But we got through it and we managed it, and we did really, really well. And we built a reputation beyond Ireland, within the European context. Sunflower would have been one of the companies that was invited over to speak at European conferences, because it was one of the only environmental companies doing this type of work in Ireland. We were the first one ever to be set up. So in that way, it was really, really successful. We were like the ducks floating on the water and going like this underneath a lot of the time. But we managed with the support of a lot of really good people. I do think as well that we shouldn't ever forget that behind every single good social company, there is a group of people who are on management board who get very, very little recognition. And they often are the ones that actually hold the managers in position and give them the support they need, and they're often a forgotten force. We learned a lot about partnership and innovation through that process, and with the result, we would have had partners throughout Europe. We had a couple in Britain, we had a couple in Scotland, we had Belgium, Germany, and we started to look at furniture recycling then about 4.5 years ago. So we now also operate a company called Busy Bees, which is a furniture recycling project. We have a shop in Bridgeford Street in Dublin 8, and then a warehouse for a shop on the Crumlin Road. And it's the same thing. We bring in unemployed people, we teach them new skills, they're working on the furniture, they're upgrading it, they're doing sales. Really, really good work. It's worth coming along to see. It's worth looking at the website and seeing the kind of work they do, because sometimes people come in and they literally can't believe that these are long-term unemployed people doing some of this work. And I actually get flabbergasted myself sometimes. I walk in and go, you see something that actually looks like it should be in an art gallery, and it's sitting there in the middle of this little project. The Social Economy Task Force, the reason why I think it's really, really important to have the task force is that we do need somebody to represent us as a sector. There are no policies, at the moment there are no proper policies for dealing with us as a sector. We're treated as the project, or we're treated as, you know, that little social company, but there's no actual department. Just like the Minister said, we need to have a department designated to looking at the social economy and looking at social business and seeing what way they can be funded. We shouldn't always be relying on, like at the moment it's handouts. It's like you might be running the CE and that's a very good thing, and FOSS, that's a wonderful thing for the long-term unemployed. But if you want to move forward, we're looking to develop another business. Where do you get the money to do that? We might have a couple of bob, but you do need partners. We've always worked really, really well with the local authority, and we've always worked really well actually with the Department in the Environment, because they're our neighbours. We kind of squeeze them a little bit sometimes, but they've been quite good over the years. Not huge tranches of money, but things to look at other pieces of work, and that's important. But I think for me, the important work of the task force is that they need to be representing us. They need to be talking to the practitioners, saying what our needs are, and having that going forward to the state, so that when they do design, we all know what happened when the social economy programme, all of those years ago, was developed. It actually buried the social economy itself. We don't want that to happen again. And if we don't want that to happen again, then what we need to be doing is getting the task force to represent us for our real needs. And the one thing I would always say, and it's a quotation from one of the English groups that we deal with in Liverpool, Bulky Bobs in Liverpool. Their tagline is, "We do good things." And I think that's what the social economy is about. We do good things, both for our community and for the people who work within us. It's very, very good work to be involved in, because you do get a lot back personally. You might have to work very, very hard. You might be working weekends, summer projects, the whole lot. But you're doing it because you like doing it, because you enjoy doing it, and because you can see what's happening to your community on the ground. Thanks very much.